Okay. Okay, guys, welcome to 7.3 and 7.4 trigonomic ratios. We're just going to go over some definitions. So the first is trigonometry, which is the study of triangles. Which we kind of been doing a little bit of studying about triangles, guys. We've looked at similar triangles, but this is a different branch. Okay, so trigonometry. And we deal with something called trig ratios. So the ratio of sides in a right triangle. And the important part here is the right triangle. What does a right triangle mean, guys? Right angle, which is?
90 degrees.
Amazing. Okay. So we have a couple of different trig ratios we use. We have something called the primary trig ratios, which is what we're going to learn this year, which is sine. Short form is sin on the calculator. Cosine. Short form is cos on the calculator. And then tangent. Short form on a calculator is tan. Okay. Then we have what we call reciprocal trig ratios, which is something you'll look at in grade 11. Good luck. They are not as fun. Okay. We call them cosecant. Tangent. Okay. The other one is secant. And the third one there of the ones that you'll learn next year is cotangent. Again, they're not as important as so, ca, and toa, which we'll be going over, okay? You don't really need to memorize that information or anything. You'll understand it once we get going. Okay? I'm not really going to ask you what does trigonometry mean? Okay? The primary trig ratios, you will know them because you're going to learn a short form of them. Okay? Does everybody have that down? Move up. Yeah. We'll move up then. Okay. Or you can watch the lesson later if you'd like. Determining trig ratios. So, as I said, we're going to be looking at the three trig ratios, cosine, sine, and tangent. And trig ratios can be determined by labeling the sides of a right triangle, opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse with respect to the given angle. So, this is really, really important. Number one is respect to the given angle. So, when we're talking about this, you will label that angle. So what I like to do is I will label from that mark, and where it'll also be identified to you in the question. So for example, A. So that's saying that when we're looking at this triangle, we're looking at it from angle A. Okay? So now what we do is we actually can label our triangle. And this shouldn't be something too new for you guys. The hypotenuse is always what? The longest side or opposite to the right angle. Okay? Because it's not always going to be, you're not always going to have numbers, so you won't always know if it's the longest side. But how you do know if the hypotenuse is there, it's opposite to the right angle. Okay? The opposite side is opposite to the given angle. So if we're saying we're looking from angle A, opposite to angle A is 4 centimeters, right? So this is what we label our opposite side. And then the adjacent side is left, which is beside that angle. Okay? So typically how I go about labeling my triangle, I start with labeling the hypotenuse, I label the opposite, and then what's left is the adjacent side. So when we're talking about that, we use something called SOHCAHTOA, because these are our equations for the laws. So this is what we call sine. And sine A equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine equals adjacent over hypotenuse. And then tangent equals tan over opposite over adjacent. Okay? So those are the three equations that you're going to be working with a lot the next couple of weeks. And I'm going to show you a short form of how to memorize them. Okay? And I'll go to the next slide after. So we say, so S equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cos equals adjacent over hypotenuse. TOA, tan equals opposite over adjacent. So it always equals the same. So on to the next slide, you'll see, okay, the short form, the trig ratios. Okay, so, ca, toa. Okay, so we have so, it's here, ka, here, and toa. Okay, you will be expected to memorize those. Okay, but they're pretty standard. The first thing you should do when you get a test, quiz, anything, just write SOHCAHTOA at the top of it. Okay? Because once you write SOHCAHTOA, you know sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. Cos equals adjacent over hypotenuse. Tan equals opposite over adjacent. So it follows the same format. So again, looking at these questions, let's talk about so first. So let's look at sine equals A. Okay? What angle are we looking from? Cassandra? A, okay? So we're labeling from A because that is what they're dictating from the question. They're saying you're looking from angle A. Cool. Okay? Label your triangle from that point, which we've already done this. Okay? We've labeled our triangle, so we know this is the opposite side. We know this is the hypotenuse side. We know this is the adjacent side. Okay? And now what we can do is we can fill in the information. Okay? So we're saying sine A equals opposite over hypotenuse. Well, what is the value associated with the opposite side?
4 centimeters.
Perfect. What is the value associated with the hypotenuse?
5 centimeters.
Okay. Step 1 done right there. Okay, let's go to adjacent. Okay. So adjacent is 3. Hypotenuse is 5. Okay. Let's go look at TOA. So opposite is 4. Adjacent is 3. Okay, cool. So step 1 is really, can you label your triangle and then identify the values associated with it. Okay. And eventually you're going to learn that on your calculator there is these special buttons called sine, cos, and tan. Okay, and we're going to be using them. How I like to tell people what about these buttons, you guys know the button pi has a value associated with it. Think of sine, cosine, and tan button the same as that. There's a ratio associated with that button, so what they've done is they've already inputted the number, it's saved on the calculator, so you don't have to memorize like 0.965. Okay? That's what those buttons really are. Okay? They don't do some weird calculation, they're just a ratio. We good? Good. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're actually going to solve some of the primary trig ratios using SOHCAHTOA. Okay? So again, sometimes you might get a question like this. You're going to have to choose what angle to look from. And it's fine, whichever angle you choose to look from, there's not a wrong angle, except that you shouldn't really look from the 90 degrees. Okay, try to avoid looking from that angle. So in the first question, let's look from angle A. Okay? You could have looked from B if you wanted to. We're just going to go from angle A. Okay? Step 1, what do you do? What do you do after you pick the angle? What do you? Sure, label the triangle, exactly. So Jason's going to say this is the opposite side. This is the hypotenuse side, and this is the adjacent side. Because remember, the hypotenuse is always opposite to the 90. The opposite side is opposite from the angle you're looking from, and then the adjacent side is beside that. And now what you do is you think SOHCAHTOA. Okay? So I'm going to go so. So sine of angle A equals the opposite side, which is 8, over the hypotenuse side, which is 20. Now what they're asking for us in this equation, though, is to round it to 4 decimal places, the trig ratio. So all you're going to do is you're going to go 8 divided by 20, okay, gives you 0.4 in this situation. So we just write 0.4. And that is what we call the trig ratio. Okay. Let's look at CA, which is like saying cos, the angle you're looking from, is equal to the adjacent side, which is 18, over the hypotenuse side, which is 20. You grab your calculator. 18 divided by 20 is 0.9. I'm just going to zoom out. And now the last one is TOA. And that's tan equals opposite over adjacent. Okay, opposite side is 8. Adjacent side is 18. So 8 divided by 18 is 0.44444. So we're just going to go to 4 decimal places, okay? So 0.4444. Is there any questions on what I just did there? It's pretty straightforward kind of thing. It might take you a little bit of time to understand the SOHCAH and the TOA, okay? That's why I would write them out every time beside it. So what I would like you guys to do is I would like you guys to try triangle KLM by yourself, just finding those trig ratios. And let's all agree, let's all look from angle K. Does that sound good? So we're all on the same page? Okay, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of time to try that, so I'm going to pause the video right now. Okay guys, so we're going to take this up. So the first thing you want to do is you want to label the triangle. So opposite side is opposite of the angle we're looking from. Okay, hypotenuse side is opposite to the right angle. Therefore, it leaves the adjacent left, but adjacent just means beside. So I like to keep it in order where I work from so. Okay, and so means sine equals, so in sine of the angle K you're looking from, because you have to indicate that, equals opposite over hypotenuse. So what was the opposite side, guys? 6.4. And what was the hypotenuse? 9. So we plug that into the calculator, and let's all check that we got the same answer. So we get 0.7111. Yeah? Perfect. Okay. Next we'll do cos, okay, which is CA. So we go cos from angle K equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So the adjacent side is 6.4 as well over the hypotenuse side, which is 9. So we should get the same value as the first one, right? And then the last one we're going to do is TOA here. Tan K, okay, equals the opposite side, which is 6.4, over the adjacent side, which is 6.4, which gives us a right on the value of 1. Okay? So did we all make out pretty good on that? Yeah. Okay. When I walked around, you guys were all right on page for that. So sometimes you're going to be asked to find the trig ratio. Okay. And other times, you're going to just be evaluating the following. So this is just pure calculator use. So you are literally just going to plug this into the calculator. Okay? So you will press sine, okay? If you have a good calculator, okay? If you're using your cell phone, you're going to do opposite. So sine 65, okay? Finish the brackets, equals. And you're going to put that decimal value down. So in this situation, it's 0.9063, okay? So you're going to work with those calculators. Now, if you have a bad calculator, okay, most of you guys have, some of you are going to have to, I'm trying to think if anybody has a bad calculator. Some of you will have to put in the value first and then press the sine, cosine, or tan button, okay? So if I do the next one, I do cos 15, okay? I get 0.9659. Okay? So what I'm going to have you do, yeah?
I was just gonna ask, do you want us to like round it, or is it like in science how we're supposed to just cut it off and not round the number?
No, round it. Yeah. Okay, so 9659. Okay, so you're rounding from the 5th decimal place, right? So I'm going to let you guys try the next 3. Okay, guys, so we're going to just finish answering the questions. So we go tan 87. We get 19.0811. Sine 0 is going to be 0. And then cos 90 equals 0. So to give you guys an idea, this is really important because you'll never use the 90 degrees in trig ratios, okay? So when you're solving something, you know how I talked about don't use the 90 degrees to look from as an angle? Okay, this is what I mean because it will give you a number of value of 0. So make sure you never use that value. And you'll see as I go through these units that I won't use the 90 degrees in my solving. Okay, so that's just kind of like a little hint. Maybe let's put a star there. Okay. So homework today, guys. You have a weird worksheet that I've handed out, but you also have some problems. It's not those on your sheet. Let me bring up the true questions. So it's not those. Okay, it is going to be page 79, 1 to 3. Numbers 1 to 3. And then page 81, numbers 1 to 4. Page 81's numbers 1 to 4. Okay, so that is your homework for tonight. So it's not too bad. You probably could get most of it done actually in the next half an hour. Okay. Hi, Anna Kate. Alyssa wanted me to say hi.